In today's episode of Justice Revisited, we're uncovering the shocking truth behind police lawsuit payouts. They carry the names of those lost: George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice, among many others. A tragic litany etched in pain and outrage. But behind the headlines, there's a hidden cost to these injustices. It's a cost borne not by the police departments, but by you, the taxpayer. We've seen the horrifying videos, the aftermath of these encounters. But what happens after the cameras move on? Where does that money actually come from? This is the real price of silence. Stay tuned, because what you're about to hear will make you question everything you thought you knew about justice. The death of George Floyd in May of 2020 sent shockwaves around the world. The image of Officer Derek Chauvin kneeling on Floyd's neck for over 9 minutes became a symbol of police brutality and ignited a firestorm of protests. The trial, the conviction, it all played out on a global stage, and then the settlement, $27 million, the largest in Minneapolis history. A staggering sum, but one that raises more questions than it answers. Where does this money come from? It comes from you, the taxpayers. It comes from your schools, your parks, your libraries. The city argued that the settlement was necessary to avoid a lengthy and costly trial. But at what cost? Is this justice? Or is it simply the cost of doing business? The chilling reality is that this is just one case, one city. New York City, 2014. Eric Garner's dying words, "I can't breathe," became a rallying cry against police brutality. Garner, unarmed and accused of selling loose cigarettes, died after being placed in a chokehold by an NYPD officer. The incident, captured on video, sparked outrage and protests across the city. The officer involved, Daniel Pantaleo, was never charged criminally. He was, however, fired from the police force 5 years later. The city settled with Garner's family for $5.9 million. Another life lost, another family shattered, another multi-million-dollar settlement. This time, the money came from the coffers of the nation's largest city. But the source is the same: taxpayers. Chicago, 2014. Laquan McDonald, a 17-year-old teenager, was walking down the street when he encountered Chicago police officers. What happened next was captured on dashcam video. Officer Jason Van Dyke fired 16 shots at McDonald, killing him. The video, released over a year later after a court battle, sparked outrage and protests across the city. The city settled with McDonald's family for $5 million even before a lawsuit was filed. It was a tacit acknowledgement of wrongdoing, a desperate attempt to quell the public outcry. But the settlement did little to address the underlying issues. The Chicago Police Department had a long and troubled history of excessive force and misconduct. The McDonald case was not an aberration, it was part of a pattern. Baltimore, 2015. Freddie Gray, a 25-year-old man, died from a spinal cord injury while in police custody. Gray had been arrested for allegedly possessing a switchblade knife. He was placed in a police van, shackled but not seatbelted. During the van ride, Gray suffered a fatal spinal cord injury. His death sparked protests and riots in Baltimore, exposing the deep racial and economic divides in the city. The case became a flashpoint in the national debate over police brutality and racial injustice. 6 officers were charged in connection with Gray's death, but none were convicted. The city of Baltimore settled with Gray's family for $6.4 million. The settlement, while substantial, did little to heal the wounds in Baltimore. It did not bring back Freddie Gray. It did not address the systemic issues that led to his death. Cleveland, 2014. Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old boy, was playing with a toy gun in a park when he was shot and killed by a Cleveland police officer. The officer, Timothy Lohman, fired his weapon within seconds of arriving on the scene. The shooting of Tamir Rice, captured on surveillance video, sparked outrage and protests across the country. A grand jury declined to indict Officer Lohman, but he was later fired from the police force. The city of Cleveland settled with Rice's family for $6 million. The settlement, while significant, did little to ease the pain of Rice's family. It did not address the systemic issues that led to his death. The cases we've examined today are not isolated incidents. They are symptomatic of a system in desperate need of reform, a system where accountability is too often measured in dollars and cents, not in justice served. And the cost of that accountability, the millions upon millions of dollars paid out in settlements, is borne not by the police departments but by you, the taxpayers. Since 2015, U.S. cities have paid over $3 billion in police misconduct settlements, but only a handful of officers are ever convicted. It's your money funding these settlements, money that could be used for schools, for hospitals, for infrastructure. But instead, it's being used to paper over a systemic problem, a problem that demands our attention, our outrage, and most importantly, our action. In response to these cases, activists and lawmakers are demanding major reforms. Some push for defunding the police departments, while others advocate for better training and stricter laws. But are these reforms enough? One major obstacle to accountability is qualified immunity, a legal doctrine that protects officers from lawsuits unless a clearly established violation occurred. This makes it incredibly difficult for victims to win cases against the police themselves and puts the burden on the taxpayer instead. The true cost of justice is not measured in dollars but in lives lost, in trust shattered, in a system that has failed to protect and serve all of its citizens. And now, it's time for a call to action. Thank you for watching. If you found value in this content, please drop us a like and leave a comment as to what steps you feel need to be taken in order to create real change. Should qualified immunity be abolished? Your support helps us continue to bring awareness and accountability to law enforcement practices. Also, don't forget to subscribe for future videos. I promise that my content will get progressively better with experience. But more importantly, let this be a reminder that change begins with us. It starts with our voices, our votes, and our unwavering demand for justice. Together we can build a future where justice is not just a word, but a reality for all. Stay informed, stay engaged. And remember, the fight for justice is far from over. We need you in this battle. Until next time, stay safe and stay strong.